So what we need to do here is pending changes. Pending changes, change set. Switch workspace to this change set. Do this, sir. Probably need to update some stuff. You don't have player UI. I remember doing this. Graphical Raycaster, Canvas Scaler. Yeah, that don't look right. What happened? Why? Wait, what's this down here? The variable atom in the player movement has not been assigned. Yeah. But I don't remember why there's a player UI. But there's a health UI. Pretty sure that was there. Yeah. Say, man, what's going on? Okay. Let's get this like this. Why that scales like this? All right, this is where things roll. See, it does have doing something bad. Freaking out.
That's all right.
Playable output is null. The playable output is null. What are you talking about? Null reference, playable. Yeah, because there's no animator. Elevate. Scripts. Enemy player. How? Right, we didn't do none of this because player is an animator. Hey, it worked this time. Now we're doing something. Right. This is the animation, right? Loop time. No loop time. That is default. Transition.
Player health one last time. So in here we just need two things. First of all, we need a public animator reference so that it doesn't play over and over again. We're almost ready to hook it up, but first, well clicked on HP text once more, we now need to go to our animator. Again, you can find this under Window if you need it. You'll notice that text update is currently our default state in the animator, which is not what we want. So I'll just right click, create a new empty state, which we'll call idle. I'll then right click it and set this as our default state. So what'll happen is in our code, whenever we take damage or gain health back, we'll call text update, and then we just want it to go from text update back to idle, which does nothing. So let's right click on update. We're gonna make a transition. It'll come down here. So now in our code, we can call text update, it'll play, and then transition back to idle.
Will it now? Under what condition? Anim dots.
So let's just go back to our player health one last time. So in here we just need two things. First of all, we need a public animator reference. Let's call this one health text anim. Then we'll just come down here and right after we take damage, but before our health actually changes visually, let's go health text anim dot play, because we just want our animator to play the text update.
Well, that's how that works. Nice. All right, so player health. Now we have the animator. We gotta add it. Public. Before, so we keep the health. Gonna do the thing. We got anim dot play. Called text update. Is that what I called it? Let's see. Text update. Could be wrong. Text update. Yeah. Then we go to player. Let's does this thing. Player. We need short. 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 Ouch. It didn't work. Fire. Oh, because we need this animator. Right. We need the text animator, not the other one. That makes sense. To player. Text animator. That should do something. Boom. Boom. That's awesome. It would be cool to have a little text go up.
Animation. Keep in mind that what you put in your code should exactly match what it says here in your state machine,
True
including
facts.
capitals or not. All right, let's just hook that up. So I'll double click my player here. And in my player health, I'll now have a spot for the health text animate. You found that one helpful? If you have, please be sure to like, subscribe.
Hey everyone, it's Matt here with Nightrun Studio, and
I want to shout out this YouTuber.
shouldn't be walking around like this. These people will kill you.
See, that's too damn big.
Very good.
That reasonable? It's not all that. Okay.
We are finally here. We're finally going to make some dialogue appear on the screen. So far in this series, we've set up a nice looking dialogue canvas. We've got an NPC talk state where we can walk to our NPC and have a dialogue
we
icon
don't.
pop up. And we've written a bunch of great dialogue. However, none of it's linked together. In this video, we're going to create a dialogue manager that will handle bringing all of that together. We'll make it so we can turn... Hey everyone, Matt here with Nightrun Studio. In our last video, we got a health system set up so that our player can take damage when encountering an enemy or obstacle and eventually be destroyed, but it looks kind of lame as there's no visual feedback to really show us that he's actually taking damage. So in this video, we're going to add a traditional RPG numeric health-based system. We'll also add a little bit of juice so that it animates each time. Hey everyone, it's Matt here with Nightrun Studio. So you've got an enemy in your game and he's capable of dealing damage, but he's just standing there right now. We'd like him to be able to chase the player. Additionally, let's create an aggro range so that the enemy only chases when the player comes close. And
Gonna
let's
have
set
to
that
create a
aggro
collision.
range in front of the enemy so that we can sneak around behind and get close before he hears us, or attack from the front where he sees us a little more quickly. Later on, we'll add animations and things, but for now, let's start with the chase and aggro range. Let's get started. Alright, so in order to get your enemy chasing the player, you will need a collider of some sort. I'm using a Capsule Collider 2D. You'll want to have a rigid body. Make sure that it is set to dynamic as body type, as that's what allows it to move. Alright.
Rigid body dynamic type. No, he already has a capsule collider. Remove this.
Of some sort. I'm using a Capsule Collider 2D. You'll want to have a rigid body. Make sure that it is set to
Let's have a rigid body. You set to dynamic.
dynamic as body type, as that's what allows it to move. Alright, we're ready to write our script to get the enemy following the player now. So
He already has animator on it. We don't have that, but we're gonna have to create a combat script.
create a new C# script. I'm going to call this one enemy underscore movement.
Enemy movement. Oh, because we already have an enemy combat script. So enemy movement.
keeping with the convention of having enemy underscore at the start of all our enemy scripts. Now, in order to make our enemy move, we are going to need to be able to talk to his rigid body. So I'll make a public rigid body reference here called RB. And normally in Unity then, we could add our script onto the enemy and just drag our rigid body right into that box. However, with enemies, we often want to spawn these into the game dynamically at runtime, and we're not going to be able to drag opponents into boxes at runtime, so we need to code this script to find the rigid body for itself. So first of all, let's make this a private reference after all. And then down in our start method, we're just going to tell the enemy that its rigid body is going to be equal to, we'll just type get component rigid body 2D. That way the game object will just look on itself for a rigid body component, and it'll fill that variable in for itself. All right.
How
so
I learned
when we
originally.
talk to a rigid body, we need to find out what direction we need to go to chase the player. So to do this, we need a public transform reference. Let's call it player. Now for the moment in Unity, I'm just gonna drag the player in here, though later we'll code this similar to what we did with our rigid body. Now we can just come down into update, and here we're gonna make a vector2 variable.
Wait, what did it do?
In Unity, I'm just gonna drag the player in here, though later.
Okay. This is where it's going to get the coordinates from. Good. I'm probably going to use
code this similar to what we did with our rigid body. Now we can just come down into update, and here we're going to make a vector2 variable called direction. And this is where we'll calculate the direction the enemy needs to go. So we'll just take our player's position and subtract the transform position of the enemy. This will get us the difference between their two positions, which is the direction he needs to go. Now the only problem with this method though is that if the enemy is really far away on the X and closer on the Y, you can get some weird numbers that can affect his speed. And so we're just going to put our player position minus transform position in brackets and then add dot normalized. This just makes it so that it has a magnitude of 1, meaning it will always be out of 1 for both the X and the Y, which allows us to then just use speed to control how fast he moves. So now that we've got our direction figured out, we can just tell our rigid body that its velocity should be equal to direction. And now he'll start moving in that direction. The only problem is, of course, that he'll be moving very slowly. So let's make it possible to control the speed by making a public float called
and
speed.
multiply it by. Oh, we're using linear. I think we're good. Sorry. Oh, stop it.
And then we'll simply multiply our direction times that variable. Already we can test this in Unity, though don't forget to actually give the enemy a number for his speed. Here I'm just gonna make sure that my rigid body is not frozen on the X and Y as I did earlier. And now I've got an enemy that chases me around. Of course he's not flipping, he's not animated, and he never stops, but we're off to a good start.
So we'll probably turn that on with the collider, enter collider 2D and exits. That makes sense. Let's try it out anyway. Let's see. What? Oh, I forgot to unfreeze his restrictions.
We know we'll be into it most of the night. probably into the early morning.
Boogie. It's getting me. Ah, safe. Oh crap. It's fast. Yoink. Oh. Ooh, we got me twice. Run. It's fun. Whoa, that dude's freaking out.
Haven't you had
So next up, let's create an aggro range so that he only chases us once we're within range. To do this, I'm going to add a circle collider to my enemy. I'm just going to click Edit Collider, and I'll
Make it
expand
trigger.
this. And I'm actually going to move it so that it is more in front of him than behind, so it's sort of like a field of view.
Ooh, that's smart. Alright. Enemy. Poke this in. Gonna add a circle collider. B. He's kind of facing this way. This trigger. And I already guessed what this code's going to be. Probably gonna need to add the collider in there, so we're gonna go to enemy code. Oh. This is camera code. Player controller. Do I have 2 instances? I do. I'll worry about those errors later.
If I'm in front of him, I'll enter the aggro range sooner, and when I come around behind, he won't notice me until I get quite close. I also want to remember to set this to a trigger, otherwise my player will bump into it, which could be fun, but not what we want. So now we'll just add an onTriggerEnter2D method. And now what I want to do is create a Boolean value called isChasing, so that our enemy knows if it is currently chasing or not.
Yeah, okay. See if I can figure this out without even watching. What is chasing? Gonna leave that as
Now,
it is.
anytime something enters this trigger, we'll set isChasing to true. There's some obvious problems with that, but we'll fix those in a moment.
As in, it will be false. It's chasing. Update. Vector, player position, normalized. Cool.
Now in update, we'll just say if isChasing is true, and then we'll put all of this movement and direction finding inside of curly brackets.
Naturally.
We'll then do the opposite in our onTriggerExit, so that when the player leaves the aggro range, we'll set isChasing to false. Now the obvious problem here is that if anything enters the enemy's trigger, he'll start chasing the player. So if another enemy enters, if a tree enters, that sort of thing. So we need a way to check if it's the player. So first let's just pop into Unity, go to our player, and make sure that we have a tag set to...
I probably have a tag. I do.
player, so that the player is uniquely identified as a player. Now, in our onTriggerEnter method, we can just check first of all to see when something enters the trigger if that collision game object has a tag called player. If so, then we'll start chasing. We'll then do essentially the same thing in onTriggerExit, so that only when the player leaves the trigger area will the enemy stop chasing. Now there's no setup necessary at this point. When we start the game, he won't follow. Once we get close, he will, and once we get far enough away, he'll stop chasing. However, there's a little problem. You can see that he's still continuing on in the direction he was going. While he's no longer chasing the player, he still maintains the velocity that he had while in chase.
Clicking object tag. There's a couple different ways to do this one, but for the sake of this, we'll just follow the guide, I guess. You gotta do both.
When the player leaves the trigger. area will the enemy stop chasing. Now there's no setup necessary at this point. When we start the game, he won't follow. Once we get close, he will, and once we get far enough away, he'll stop chasing. However, there's a little problem. You can see that he's still continuing on in the direction he was going. While he's no longer chasing the player, he still maintains the velocity that he had while in chase mode.
You just gotta reset his...
Now the good news is this is actually a really easy fix. All we want to do is make sure that once the player leaves the enemy's trigger area, the velocity of his rigid body gets set to vector 2, 0.
Yeah. Well, it's already doing it. Alright, let's check it out. Whoops. That's funny. Well, that didn't work. Let's see why. Oh, because he's on the other side. But if you bump into him, he shouldn't just scream off the thing. So we're gonna have to give him some mass. Ah! No. Yo, he's fast. Whoa, whoa. Hold back and stick behind him. Plus, oh. Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Hero, essentially stopping the enemy. Now we just have the remaining problem of what if this enemy gets spawned in at runtime? He won't know what player to put in the player box. So let's code this script to figure that out for itself. To do this, we'll just scan this to a private reference. Now the only time the enemy needs to know where the player is if he's actually chasing the player. So let's come down to our onTriggerEnter. Now after our if statement here, where we check to see if it's the player, we can then use that collision data to fill this reference. So we can tell it that the player is actually equal to the object that just came into the collider. Now, we don't need to fill this variable every time the player enters. We only need to do it once, the first time, and then the enemy can
Player that collision that transforms.
keep at that reference. So here we'll just say if player is null, meaning if he doesn't know where the player is, let's fill it in. Otherwise, it'll skip this line and just move on.
So on enter, if collision, no, if player, that's the transform, no. And what do we do? Then player is going to equal collision. Oh, whatever it collided with, collision dot transform, right? Because then it's only going to work if the collision game or if the game object tag is player, then it will check this. Otherwise, it could care less about the actual objects. Interesting. That's actually pretty smart.
So there's no setup necessary at this point, and we can finally test it. You'll see he was idling. When I entered, he started to chase. When I left, he stopped following. I can also sneak around behind for a back attack, and here I can get quite close before he finally follows me. Of course, there's still some work to do. We want to create a state machine where we will be able to move him between idle and chase states, changing animations and other behaviors, but we'll get to that in the next video. Until then, this is Matt with Nightrun Studio. Cheers.
Want me to hit the phone?
Hey everyone, Matt here with Nightrun Studio.
In this video, we're going to take this
Is it Matt or Matthew? Called yourself two different names in one. Alright. Very good. Looks like we're going to be doing some anim action.
enemy who's doing a simple chase and make some improvements. We're going to give him the ability to flip from side to side, to animate when running, and we're also going to upgrade him with a simple state machine, which will build a foundation so later he can do more than just idle and chase, but have other states as well. Let's get started. So the very first thing we're going to do is get our enemy flipping, and similar to our player, we are going to flip using the local scale method. So you'll notice right now he has a -1 scale and he faces.
He has a -1 because you made a -1. He does not have a -1. Alright, so we got enemy, we got transform. Sure, let's make it a -1.
To his left, and if we turn it to 1, he will face right, and his sight changes with him, which works really nicely. So let's head into our enemy movement script. Now we will be working from a simple enemy movement script. You can check out the video on that if you want to see the details of how it works. But suffice it to say that right now the enemy either idles or chases.
Why is this different? Okay, that's all the same. Got the rigid body, we got the update, we got the on triggers.
Says the player.
Update is chasing is true.
So to get our facing direction working, we're going to start by creating a private integer called facing direction. My enemy starts off facing left, so I'll start it with -1, and when he faces right, we'll change that to a 1. So the way this will work is that anytime he's chasing the player, we want him to check to see which side of him the player is on, and then face that direction. We'll do this by beginning with an if statement. So if the player's X position is greater than this transform's position, that means the player's on the right. And if the player is on the right, but the enemy is facing left, or -1, we need to flip. I'm just going to copy that line. We'll put 2 lines here, that is the or statement, and we're going to provide the other possibility in which the enemy might need to flip, which is if
So it's gonna be just like we did. Position is greater than transform dot position X and facing direction. If we just build that in without me knowing, equals -1, meaning it's facing left. If it's greater and it's on the right, then you can flip. Oh, we also need to check. Assign transform dot position x and facing
The player's X position is less than the enemy's, meaning the player's on the left, but the enemy is facing right, meaning his face direction
we
is
gonna
positive.
flip.
If either of these things is
Method.
true, the enemy needs to flip. Now, when I say the enemy needs to flip, it means we need to do one of two things. So let's create a void method here called flip. And here we're just going to change our facing direction. If we multiply it by a -1, it will always become the opposite of what it was previously. The other thing we need to do is to actually flip the graphic of the enemy. We'll do this by doing transform.localScale equals, and we can't
Gonna
just
multiply by 1.
modify the x, so we need to make a new vector 3 here. So for the x value, we're going to take the transform local scale's current x value and just multiply it by -1. Then for the y and z, we'll just keep them as the current transform.localScale. Multiply it by -1.
And we need to local scale. See, that's something I'm not really familiar with, so I'm just gonna have to take this dude's word for it. 3 transform dot x. No, local. We're still doing local scale. Oops.
I hardly know how to begin.
Transform. Nope. We're doing this wrong. Why is yelling at me? We need. No, wait. Vector 3. Transform dot local scale dot x. Change x, and then transform dot local. Oh, no, that's probably gonna save. It's same, isn't it?
Then for the y and z, we'll just keep them as the current transform.localScale value.
Okay, that's what I thought. That is not. So all that does is just multiply by -1, whatever the number was, it's going to be the opposite. If it's negative, it'll be positive. If it's positive, it'll be negative. Pretty straightforward.
Values with y and z respectively. There's no additional setup needed at this point, so we can head right into play mode.
This dude's speed's crazy, so let's kick it down a notch. All compile errors have to be fixed. Oh. What's it say? Enemy movement script, non-invocable member flip tool. Oh, did it? Yeah, I thought, yeah. It like auto filled in. player movement, variable anim and player movement has not been assigned. It hasn't. So player movement is player script. Yeah, it's been assigned. What the hell are you talking about? Alright, I'll have to look at that after. That's so weird. Variable animate player has not been assigned. Variable animate player movements. Probably need to assign the anim variable the player movement script in the inspector. Probably don't, but oh no, it just flips. That ain't good. Let's try it again. Yeah, that seems like a problem. Let's see, what do we do? We need to look at the enemy scripts. This trigger. Facing direction. That says -1. That's not true. Doesn't flip though. Oh, now he's flipping. Okay, so we need to make that box bigger. I mean, not the box, the collider bigger, so that you can actually see from behind. Where we're gonna do that is collider. Oops. Kind of like that. It's like, oh damn. Try to attack from behind. No, it goes after you. The only thing is, yeah, I could see a bug already, but that's fine. It needs to recheck. So he can just push you along and not take another damage. So I'm sure if he has an attack animation, that'll actually be what we do.
And you will notice that if we go around behind and then approach the enemy, he does indeed flip directions. It's working nicely. Next, we just need to animate him, but if you've been following this entire series, you may have an error popping up at the moment. This is pointing to our enemy combat. Now, if you take a look in enemy combat, you can see that currently, every time we collide with anything at all, we're looking for a player health script and trying to take away damage. The problem is this also fires when he bounces into trees and things. So let's just quickly check, first of all, to see if the collision gauge...
Oh. Non-collision 2D of the enemy combat scripts. So I don't have. Yeah. Right, because it's going to check for the scripts. And it's not going to be, if it collides with something else, it's not going to be able to fly.
Game object has a tag called player, which is
Alright, now I need to figure out my problem. The variable anim player movement has not been assigned.
All right.
Anna has not been assigned. It has been assigned. I don't know what the hell it's talking about. But let's do it again. Player movement has not been assigned yet. It's assigned. It's right there. What the hell are you talking about? The variable anim. I don't know why it's saying that, other than maybe because it's in fixed update. It's so weird. Maybe because it's down here. No, because it has to set this after the fact.
is what we set up in the last video.
Alright, let me... This is a common problem with fall values. Troubleshoot, inspect the variable. The game object in your scene, look at the scripts inspector, check if the variable contains value inspect. If it shows 0, a different value, that's the source of the problem. No. The inspector shows a value different from what you expect. Check script initialization. Make sure your code that sets variables runs and the inspector has loaded the fall value. Consider start or update. Interesting. What if I just do... This is probably bad, but... I mean, I'm getting the freaking anim. Like, I understand.
I'm gonna get out of here, get some fresh air.
Doesn't make a difference. There is no animator attached to the global light 2D game objects. Yeah, no kidding. The hell you what? No, is that why? How did that happen? Okay, well, we don't want that. I think that's probably a problem. Should fix it. I didn't even need to do the. All right, so we're gonna remove this. We don't need this. That's crazy. Okay, so coding. You never know what you're gonna get. Should be fine now. Yeah, nothing's yelling at me. Okay, good. Alright.
Now, the enemy should only try to deal damage if he's in fact hitting the player. Now, next up, we want to actually set up our animations. Now, I've gone ahead and created 2 animations for my enemy, one for idling and another for moving.
Idling and moving.
If you want to see how to do this, you can go back to our...
I know how to do that. Alright, so let's go here. Enemy.
I'm not afraid.
Animation. Creates. Oh, no. We don't want to do that here. We want to go assets, animations, enemy, idle. Forget how many. That's attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll put all of them in, I guess. I think it's 6 though. He's grooving. Does that look right? Moving. So if we did 7. That it?
We were riding in the cemetery. Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
looks good.
Our animation video, I'm using the exact same method I did for our player. However, the way we set up our animator is going to be quite different this time around. Now you can already see the two animations I have.
Alright, what's the animator looking like? Bang, bang, bop. Nope, that's not right. We want enemy. Very good. Last time I did this, all the stuff was missing.
On my character here. And to make things easy, I'm just going to rename them. So I'll take this first one, it's orange because that's the default state. I'm going to rename it idle. And for the other one, I'm just going to call it move.
Oh yeah, you're just gonna check while it's being triggered. You're gonna check off the move animation, and then when you leave, you're gonna check out the other one. That makes sense.
Next, we can head over to the sidebar here, click on
Hold on a
parameters,
second.
and I'm going to rename it idle. And for the other one, I'm just going to call it move. Next, we can head over to the sidebar here, click on parameters, and I'm just going to add a couple of Boolean parameters. One we'll call is idle, and the other we'll call is moving.
Makes sense.
To set this up so that we check to see which bool is true, and then we head to that state. So we'll make a transition here, leaving idle. We'll take off its exit time, give it 0. Duration, and then we're just going to change a parameter so that if is idle is false, it exits this state.
If is idle is false, it's gonna exit the state. Okay.
We'll then create another transition from entry to move. Click on it, and we're going to make it so that if is moving is true, it comes here, and then make another transition out. We'll take off the exit time and duration, and make it so that if is moving is false. We leave the...
Wait, what? This idle is true. I missed that first part. Make sure I didn't add something in there slick.
Now you can already see the two animations I have on my character here. And to make things easy, I'm just going to rename them. So I'll take this first one, it's orange because that's the default state. I'm going to rename it idle. And for the other one, I'm just going to call it move. Next, we can head over to the sidebar here, click on parameters, and I'm just going to add a couple of Boolean parameters. One we'll call is idle, and the other we'll call is moving. Now we're going to set this up so that we check to see which bool is true, and then we head to that state. So we'll make a transition here, leaving idle. We'll take off its exit time, give it 0 duration, and then we're just going to change a parameter so that if is idle is false, it exits this state. We'll then create another transition from entry to move, click on it, And we're going to make it so that if is moving is true, it comes here, and then make another transition.
Alright,
out.
so what's gonna happen
Block
is
the exit time and
it's gonna
duration,
make
and
his
it
idle
so
false
moving is
by
false.
getting to the thing. It's gonna exit. It's gonna start
Now we
again,
just need to make sure
and
that
then
only
it's
one of
gonna
these
see.
rules is active at a time, and then we will always play the correct animation. And this is also set up so we can easily add more animation
Makes
states
sense.
down the road. Now we just need to hook this up in our movement script. So first of all, we need to talk to our animator. So let's make a private animator reference called anim. Then in our start method, we can find this component by going anim.
Okay, we're gonna an enemy movement. We're just gonna grab it, private animator, anim. Then we're gonna grab it here. Get component. Oh, stop. Oh, because we need the anim equals get component. That's why I was gonna fool, I guess. Alright, now we have the animator. So my guess is when we go to here, player.collision.transform, and then I'm assuming we're gonna call
Equals get component
anim
animator.
dot
This will
set
just search the
bool
game
equals
object for the
true.
animator and fill that slot.
Yeah,
Now,
the
this next
bool.
step is going to be a little more intermediate, but this is going to be what really sets us up well for the game to work well and be expandable in the future. We're going to create a state machine, but to do this, we need to keep track of our states in an organized way. So let's head down below this entire script, outside of all the brackets. We're going to make a public enum called enemy state.
Ah,
kinda like
okay, we're
creating
going
our
enum
own-
style. Wait, all the way below the code even? Okay. Like a small class, essentially.
Variable. We can make whatever types of states we want and put them in here, and then we'll be able to select them whenever we want the enemy to move between states. So now that we've created this enemy state enum, we can use it as a variable to track our enemy's current state. So let's head up to the top, create a public enemy state, and we'll just call this enemy state for now. Now to show how this works, we can pop back over to Unity. Now when I click on my enemy and look in the enemy movement script, you can see this drop-down menu that will include all the different states we have to choose from. Now we don't need to see that in Unity, so we can change this back to private. And now our code has
Well, let's see if that actually works. Oh yeah, it does. Cool. But yeah, we don't need to know. Debugging purposes, yes.
an internal way to track the current state of our enemy. So then at the start of the game, we'll call change state, which we'll make in a moment, and it's just going to say that we want to change our
Change state. We don't have a method called that. But we will. Mesh change
state to idle to begin the game. Now we'll create that change state method down below, and it's just going to take in a state as it needs.
So annoying.
Needs to know what new state we want to go to each time. Now let's begin by setting up our animations. So if enemy state
So this is gonna automatically change the state. Yep. Let me guess. Enemy state.
is equal to enemy state idle, then we want to tell our animator to set its bool, called isIdle, to be false, as we're leaving that animation now. Similarly, if our current state is enemy state.chasing, then we want to tell our animator to set its bool isChasing to be false.
What?
False.
Enemy state. Oh, because we want to. Yeah, because we're changing. That makes sense. Enemy state equals enemy state dot idle. This is where we're gonna change the enemy. That bool. Idle. Oh. Else. If enemy state equals enemy state dot chasing, then we're gonna set Adam dot set bool so it's looking for its current is chasing. Makes sense. A little confusing, but I get what it's doing.
And here I'm actually just going to go back to my animator and call our bool there isChasing, as that'll make more.
Makes sense.
More sense with the way we're setting up our state machine. So at this point, we've exited our old animation. Next, we'll set our new state. So we'll tell our enemy state that it's now equal to whatever new state was just passed in. So now we can just copy all of those animator commands, except that now we just want to make it so that since we've changed our enemy state, if the current state at this point is idle, we want to set isIdle to true. And if our new current enemy state is chasing, then we want to set isChasing to true. I'll just...
Seems redundant. If enemy is that, just change it to the new state. So in this case, if you send in a new state and you want to go to chasing, it's currently an idle. So if enemy equals it is idle, we want a new state. Adam set bool idle false. Enemy new state is chasing. It's not. So it's chasing the false. It wouldn't be false. New enemy state will be chasing. enemy state equals. See, it's either one or the other. I feel like this is redundant, but we're just gonna, for now, yes, go with the flow. I feel like you should definitely. It's either one or the other. But I guess if you have two different states, I guess that's the whole point of a state machine. You just have to wing it.
Let's put a couple of notes in here to help us remember this in the future. So the first section exits the current animation, we update our current state, and then we...
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. We do that.
update our new animations. So now we just need to call this method whenever we want the enemy to change states. So let's head up to onTriggerEnter, where we're already detecting that we've collided with the player. Here, after we set isChasing to true, we're just going to change our state to the chasing state.
Trigger collision. Enter 2D. Is chasing. Wait, why is it like that?
Similarly, when we...
Oh, okay. Is chasing is true. So that means we need to change states. Enemy states that chasing. And when it exits, you just set this back to idle.
Exit the collider, we want to change the enemy state back to idle. And now that we're tracking our state, we actually don't even need this isChasing bool at all. So let's come to the very top of our script and get rid of that.
True. Because our bool is going to be set by... Oh.
We no longer need to do isChasing here in update. Instead, we'll just check to see if we are currently in our chasing state.
Ah, I'll change it to enemy. That's an update.
And finally, we can just simplify things by getting rid of these isChasing equals true or false lines altogether.
Right, because that's the original bool. We're good.
Now at this point, we're very nearly ready to test this out, but first in our start method, we need to fix one thing. Our change state method controls all of our animations. However, here we're changing our state before we actually are able to talk to the animator. So we're just gonna grab that change state line and make it after we found our animator. All told, that's a lot of changes in one video, so let's just quickly recap. We now have the enemy state variable to keep track of our current state, which allowed us to get rid of the isChasing bool. In our start method, we begin by changing our state to the idle state. Then an update, rather than checking a bool, we now check to see which state we're in. And if we're chasing, we engage in chasing the player. In our
we still going?
We now check for the player, and rather than using a bool, we change our state to chasing if we encounter a player. When
What's
the
the
player leaves the trigger,
situation?
we change our state back to idle. We also have this change state method, which exits the current animation, updates our state, and then updates new animations. All right, so at this point, there's no setup to do in Unity. When we enter, we've got his walking animation. He goes back to idle. once we've left. And you'll notice here he turns around just fine, chases, but once I get...
Yeah, something ain't right. Okay, so I'm gonna need to make some stuff public. Maybe the state public. Yeah, it's probably not what to do. Here's an idle. Good. Changes to chasing. He's back to idle, but his animation isn't idle. The animation didn't change. So, what did I screw up? There we go. I think that's the problem. I misspelled my thing. He's chilling. Oh, he's going after me. Go. Okay, he's chilling. Okay, so he was still... Okay, so we must still have, okay, I can fix that. Move. Cannot preview transition, has no destination. That's fine, has no exit time. Transition. Zero. Try again. Yo, chill. He's killed. He's cool. Hello. Whoa, run. He's good. Nice. Now I'm dead. All right. Damn. Making some progress. I'll be right back.
Get far enough away, he goes back to his idol. Alright, I know that one was a little more complex than what we've done in the past. Apologies for that. I hope you were able to follow. If not, be sure to pop into the Discord server to ask some questions or share your code. Till next time, this is Matt with Nightrun Studio. Cheers.
Hey everyone, Matt here with Nightrun Studio, and in this video, we're going to get our enemy attacking. We're going to add animations, a cooldown, and we're also going to set things up so that we can add dodging and eventually blocking in the future. Let's get started. Now for this video, you will need an attack animation setup. If you're not quite sure how to do that, check out the video we did a little earlier in the series on how to animate. We don't need to do left and right, as we'll use the...
Alright. Our enemy needs some attack action. Uh-oh. That is not where I wanted that to be. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. That's a run. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. That's the beginning of attack. That's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Minute, please.
So we're probably gonna need another box. Sure, in that we're gonna be setting that animation and then maybe something else. I don't know. This is the part I'm really
to attack on
interested
both
in
sides.
learning how to do.
I've actually created a up and down attack as well, though we won't be adding those in this video. If that's something you're interested in, be sure to let me know and I can do an extra video on that topic.
Oh. I do want to do that. Add property.
Leave the car here.
No. Add. Enemy.
This is
Attack.
only the beginning.
Perhaps unwillingly.
No further details available at this time.
You can't. She feels warm. Maybe it's shock.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying. I screwed that up. Oh, we can just highlight. So 6 times 5 is 30. Man, I could have. Oh, but yeah. It manually adjusts because I screwed that up.
Now, if you've been following along in the series so far, we've got our enemy set up with two states, his idle state as well as a chase state, and if he ever gets close enough, he will deal damage on contact. However, that's kind of lame looking. We want to set this up so that he actually does an attack animation and gives you time to dodge. So let's head into our enemy movement script, as this is sort of the hub for all of our state changes.
Mm-hmm. Enemy movement?
We're going to begin by scrolling all the way to the bottom, where we'll add our new state, attacking. Now at the top we can create our first variable. This will be a public float called attack range, and I'll initialize it to 2, which is how close the player will have to get before the enemy attacks.
2 units.
Then we'll head down into update, which is currently running our chasing state, which flips the enemy and chases the player. At the moment it's pretty clean, but as time goes, our update method is going to get very full if we continue this way. So in the interest of separating concerns and keeping our code readable, let's take all of this chasing logic out of here and create a void chase method where we can put it. Then in update, all we'll do is if our enemy state is chasing, we'll call that chase method. Next, we'll just add the other possibility, which is that our enemy state goes to attacking, and here we'll do all our attacky stuff. Now at this point, we need to update our change state, which currently just exits the current animation, stores whatever state we're currently in, and then updates a new one. So let's begin by leaving the attacking state if we happen to be going to a new state, and we'll make sure that at that point our bool for is attacking gets set false. We'll then
All the same stuff.
Do the same so that if we're entering the attacking state, we set that animation to true. Now at the moment, we're never actually entering this attacking state. So let's actually head up to our chase method. And what we're just gonna do is make an if statement so that if the distance, this is a Unity helper function.
Ooh, okay.
Where we just put in the position of one object and another, and it will find the distance between them. So if the distance between
less than or equal to 2, I presume.
the enemy and the player
Oh,
is
attack
less than-
range, right? Where our choice. Yeah.
Let me show you something.
his attack range, then he wants to start attacking.
They
We'll then put
Attack.
the rest of this code in
that is correct.
to an else if statement so that it only evaluates if we are not supposed to.
Mhm.
Go to attacking state. With that, we can save this and test it out. Back in Unity, I'm just going to click on my enemy and go to my animator. You'll see that I've got 3 new states here, one for each of the animations I created. I'm just going to simplify the names first of all.
So the same situation.
I'll call these attack, attack down, and attack up. Again, I won't be getting into the down and up attacks here, but if you're interested in seeing how to do that, please make sure to leave a comment and I'll see what I can do.
Attack. Attack.
At this point, we need to create a new parameter. I'll just make a bool called isAttacking. On entry, we'll transition to attack if isAttacking is true. We'll then make it transition out of attack, which will have no exit time, and the duration will be 0. This will happen if isAttacking is false. Now we'll just take a second now to go to our assets folder, find these animations, and make sure to turn off looping so that we don't attack eternally.
Oh, good point. He's idle. Whoa, he's attacking. He's not. He's stuck in attack animation. Why? Did I spell attacking wrong?
Sometimes I think he doesn't give a darn about me. He's all I can think of.
Oh, did I do it again? No, I didn't. Oh. Is idle. It's true. This idle's false. If it is idle is true. Wait, what if it... He's gonna continue attacking.
Now, when we test the game, there's going to be all sorts of strange shenanigans going on. First of all, when he comes in, he does attack, but he never leaves that attack state, and he continues to have velocity as he drifts across the map. I can leave and re-trigger this, but the same thing keeps happening. So we need to first of all get his animation state to leave attacking, and we also need to stop his velocity. Alright, so in our enemy movement, the stopping velocity is very easy. We're just going to come down to this update method and out. Back in Unity, I'm just going to click on my enemy and go to my animator. You'll see that I've got 3 new states here, one for transition to attack if is attacking is true. We'll then make it transition out of attack, which will have no exit time, and the duration will be 0. This will happen if is attacking is false.
Oh, is attacking is false. Okay, I gotcha. I did that wrong. That also has exit time. That should not have exit time. And the wrong idea. This should be better. Woo, he's attacking, but he's not flipping. Why? He's freaking out, man. We had all kinds of bugs. He's attacking. What? Okay, it's probably something similar to what he was saying.
Now we'll just take a second now to go to our assets folder, find these animations, and make sure to turn off looping so that we don't attack eternally. Now when we test the game, there's going to be all sorts of strange shenanigans going on. First of all, when he comes in, he does attack, but
Alright, first off, I don't know why he doesn't change his direction. Nice. Yeah, it's all screwy. Alright, so something ain't right. So then let's check out the code. See if I oh, if enemy state is attacking. I never wrote that code in. Update.
In the attack where in range, one little change this to on trigger stay. Our enemy will recognize the player still there and keep attacking on that topic.
Now, if you've been following along in the series so far, we've got the attacks.
Then we'll head down into update, which is currently running our chasing state, which flips the enemy and chases the player. At the moment, it's pretty clean, but as time goes, our update method is going to get very full if we continue. So let's begin by leaving the attacking state if we happen to be going to a new state, and we'll make sure that at that point our goal for is attacks. This is a Unity
Update. Enemy. Chase.
helper function where we just put in the position of
Do
one
attacky stuff. Okay, so we actually didn't do anything here.
object and another, and it will find the distance between them.
Alright, let's see if I did that correctly. Is that something right
So if
here?
the distance between
The chase, vector 2 distance, transform position, player transform position is less than or equal to attack range.
between the enemy and the player is less than his attack range, then he wants to start attacking.
Change state, enemy is attacking. Yeah.
We'll then put the rest of this code into an else if statement so that it only evaluates if we are not supposed to go to attacking state. With that, we can save this and test it out. Back in Unity, I'm just going to click on my enemy and go to my animator. You'll see that I've got 3 new states here. One, if you're interested in seeing how much will have no exit time, and the duration will be 0. This will happen if is attacking is false. Now we'll just take a second now to go to our assets folder, find these animations, and make sure to turn off looping so that we don't attack eternally. Now when we test the game, there's going to be all sorts of attacking, and we also need to stop his velocity in his tracks anytime he's about his velocity. Alright, so in our enemy movement, the stopping velocity is very easy. We're just going to come down to this update method, and when we need to do attacky stuff, this is going to be a perfect moment to go rigid body dot velocity is equal to, and we're just going to set it to vector 2.
Vector
2.0. That'll stop.
Yeah.
stop the enemy in his tracks anytime he's about to attack. Next, we're just going to head into our enemy combat script where we'll make a
This could be where some things are getting funny.
public void method called attack. And in here, we just simply for now want to print a debug log saying attacking player now. Now getting our enemy to attack and then leave the attack animation can actually be done entirely within Unity. So let's go to our enemy and click on his attack animation. If we click on the point in the attack where he actually attacks, we can add an animation event, which will create this function box here.
Yeah. Okay, do I still have to... Alright, so we need animation of this guy attacking.
Herman prowls around the streets all hours of the night, just like an animal. Maybe he's the vampire.
Add property. Hold on.
Attack animation. If we click on the point in the attack where he actually attacks, we can add an animation event, which will create this function box.
Set this. Add event.
Here. If we click on that, we can select from all of the functions in the scripts that are on our enemy. In this case, let's make it.
Ooh. Enemy movement. Combat. Attack.
Attack here. We can then go to the end of our timeline, add another animation event, and well clicked on it, let's now add the change state. It will then give us a parameter box. Where we can select which state we'd like to go into next, and we want it to be idle. So now when I come within range, the enemy comes to attack, stops, and swings. He attacked the player once, then went back to idle. Now you'll notice that range is a little large, so I might go to my enemy here, and while I'm clicked on him, let's change our attack range. Let's try 1.5 and see how that feels. So now I'll walk out.
I try to remember, but when everything is coming back to me, I feel as if my memory is paralyzed.
It's all screwed up.
I don't
Alright, I think we're gonna probably call it quits. Made some progress. Something ain't right with the states. Try to figure this out. Come back. Till next time. I know nobody's here. I'm talking to myself. Not a single person joined my stream. It is what it is. Till next time.